I think people need each other. They're made that way, but they haven't learned how to live together. Good evening, everyone. This is Stone Gasman, live from New York City. And tonight we are going to be doing an audio commentary for writer-director Rainer Werner Fassbinder's The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. It is available on YouTube. Here is the where you can watch it. And it does have English subtitles. That's probably the most important thing. This is actually the Criterion print. It got uploaded to YouTube some time ago. Give credit to Dimitrios Axiotis for putting it up on YouTube. There. See, when did he put this up? But yeah, it's available there for anybody who wants to watch it. So this was basically my introduction to Mr. Fassbinder as a director. And I'm very, very excited to talk about this film. There was a lot that I discovered with this film in terms of his filmmaking style and his relationships with German actresses and everything. And I think we're going to find this a very interesting commentary. So, but anyway, give everybody just a chance to get to YouTube and to pause on the Criterion logo, which I'm looking at right now. So, yeah, this is my introduction to Fassbinder, and I have much to say. Before I start, however, I want to say I apologize. I've been kind of out of the woodwork for a few weeks now. I mean, my last commentary was, it was last week, Tuesday morning, when I did my commentary for Bergman's Cries and Whispers. So, and I was going to do a commentary on Aguirre, The Wrath of God, but I have a lot of issues with that movie. It's very hard to sit through. And also, it's going to require a hell of a lot more research to actually get through a commentary for it, even though it's only 94 minutes. But I do intend to do it later in the year. Now, tomorrow night at 11 p.m., we will be doing a commentary on Lena Wertmüller's The Seduction of Mimi, starring Giancarlo Giannini and Mariangela Malato. It's this Italian comedy. I think I'm very excited to talk about that one as well. And then next week, we're probably going to be doing The Harder They Come, which is the very first Jamaican movie released in 1972. Possibly Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, Bruce Lee's The Way of the Dragon, and we are going to conclude our look at the international films of the month with a commentary for this Lad Company release entitled Tragedy of a Ridiculous Man. And this is directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, and the Lad Company actually released this in 1981. But I've been meaning to watch this and do my commentary on it because I've been meaning to go back to the Lad Company series. So look forward to a commentary on that at the end of the month. And with all that out of the way, I think we should go ahead and get started. All right, so I am paused on the Criterion logo for The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, and we will start on the count of 3, 2, 1, and play. Yes, the Criterion Collection, they put this out a while back. Let me actually look real quick about the... obviously, since I was able to watch it on YouTube, I decided to pass on getting the actual Criterion for it. But the Criterion version actually came out in 2015, so this has been out for a while. And over at Blu-ray.com, they gave it a 5-star review, a perfect review. And the assessment was, quote, impeccably acted and brilliantly lensed. The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant is unquestionably one of German director Rainer Werner Fassbinder's very best films. It transitions to Blu-ray after a stunning new 4K restoration, which I'm assuming the print we're watching is that same restoration, which has been supervised by its director of photography, Michael Ballhaus. We will be talking about him a bit later. Also included on the Blu-ray are Thomas Honnickel's outstanding documentary film Role Play, Women on R.W. Fassbinder, as well as an excellent new program featuring exclusive interviews with actors Hanna Schygulla, Margit Carstensen, who plays the titular Petra von Kant, Eva Mattis, and Katrin, Schaake. In my opinion, this is one of the very best additions to Criterion's catalog in a very long time. Do not miss it, folks. And he gave it his highest recommendation. And that was, excuse me, Dr. Svet Atanasov over at Blu-ray.com, giving his highest marks and credit. Excuse me. Highest marks and credit to the Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. Now, over the credits here, we see basically just a small flight of stairs going up to what looks to be a red and white striped couch. And as you can see, there's a couple of cats. Now, the funny thing is that with these cats right here, a couple of them look up. I mean, one of them is a Siamese cat at the bottom. After this particular shot, we never see these cats ever again. Ever again. I making that realization now, I'm wondering if he is just saying something to the effect of like how, you know, especially indoor cats, they tend to they tend to be very comfortable just remaining indoors and not having to deal with the outside world. And I do wonder if Fassbinder is intending to compare the characters that live here with these cats who are very, very solitary, very confined in these spaces, and as we will find out, probably intentionally so. And we come in on a different room where we see this giant painting with nudes on it. As we are introduced to Petra von Kant in her bed right here. And when this movie first started and I realized, oh no, another woman in a bed, I was thinking of Cries and Whispers by Bergman's, like, oh no, please not another woman dying of cancer story. No. This is not anything like Bergman. I mean, in Germany, I mean, Werner Fassbinder was doing a lot more, I think, interesting things with his women actresses, as you will probably see here very, very much. Every character in this movie I loved. Every character in this movie I actually kind of fell in love with in some way, shape, or form. But at any rate, the reproduction of the painting that you saw on the wall is actually Poussin's Midas and Bacchus. And Nicolas Poussin, he was a leading painter of the classical French Baroque style, although he spent most of his working life in Rome. Most of his works were on religious and mythological subjects, painted for a small group of Italian and French collectors, and he returned to Paris for a brief period to serve as the first painter to the king under Louis XIII and Cardinal Richelieu, but soon returned to Rome and resumed his more traditional themes. In his later years, he gave growing prominence to the landscape in his paintings. His work is characterized by clarity, logic, and order, and favors line over color. Until the 20th century, he remained a major inspiration for such classically oriented artists as Jacques-Louis David, Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, and Paul Cézanne. So yeah, you see that painting in the background, which here again is a painting entitled Midas and Bacchus. I'm going to have to give more information on that. Greek mythology and art, absolutely. I'm looking at the exact same painting right now. It was painted in 1624, oil on canvas, dimensions 98.5 by 153 centimeters. Midas and Bacchus was painted using oil on canvas by 1624 by Nicolas Poussin, and shows an often overlooked part of the King Midas tale from Greek mythology. King Midas is famous for his golden touch, but few people know how Midas originally came upon his gift. In the tales of Greek mythology, the golden touch was given to the king by Dionysus or Bacchus after Midas had found and returned Celanos to the god's retinue. After the gift was given, Dionysus would remove the gift after Midas begged him to do so. So, yeah, that is the painting Midas and Bacchus, although it's also referred to as Midas and Dionysus. Mm-hmm. And here we have our leading actress. This is, of course, Margit Carstensen, still with us. She's 82 years old. She was born in Germany, in Kiel, Germany in 1940. Hey, Rob, how you doing tonight? Glad you could come. We are approximately 7 minutes into the bitter tears of Petra von Kant. And actually, as you will notice as this film is going on and playing, that this entire movie is basically split up into 4 acts. Fassbinder wrote this as a play, and he actually adapted it to the screen. And it seems like this entire set that we pretty much stay in throughout the whole movie, it's almost as if he constructed it so perfectly. He knew exactly where the camera was going to be moving to. He knew where exactly he was going to shoot all these women and what they were going to be doing. And it's just, the process as it begins is very, very fascinating. Because, okay, so you see Petra von Kant here in the bed. She's about to smoke a cigarette right here and everything. And as you can see, she's not too old. I mean, she's definitely, she's probably at this point, I mean, for anybody that's never seen this movie, you probably guess that she was probably around 40. Most of the women in Cries and Whispers were actually around 40 as well. Including the sister who actually died and whose effect took on the entire family in that movie. But this actress right here, Margit Carstensen, like I said, she's still with us. She's 82 years old. She's the daughter of a physician born and raised in the North German city of Kiel. That's a Kiel like in Richard Kiel, you know, the Jaws from James Bond. Upon graduation from the local high school in 1958, she studied acting at the Hochschule for Music and Theater in Hamburg, and the education led to her first stage appearance in Cleve, Heilbronn, Munster, and Braunschweig. In 1965, Margit Carstensen received a 4-year engagement with the Deutsches Schauspielhaus German Playhouse in Hamburg. There she played leading roles in plays by John Osborne and the classical Spanish playwright Lope de Vega. In 1969, she gained a local profile for her work in the theater Am Goethplatz in Bremen, which is where this movie is set, by the way. This entire movie, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, is set in the town of Bremen in Germany. It's the capital of the German state-free Hanseatic city of Bremen. With about 570,000 inhabitants, the Hanseatic city is the 11th largest city of Germany and the 2nd largest city in northern Germany after Hamburg. I always smile when I see the number 11 because it's always my lucky number, just to let everybody know right now. But anyway, Bremen is the largest city on the river Weser, the longest river flowing entirely in Germany, lying some 60 kilometers upstream from its mouth into the North Sea, and is surrounded by the state of Lower Saxony. Now, I wanted to talk about Bremen for a bit, just because we never leave this house. We watch Petra, interact with all the women in this house, but we never see her leave the house. We never see her outside of the house. She pretty much stays the entire movie in this room, okay? Completely in this room. And as you can see right here, she's going to, she's got a very lovely bathrobe on. I mean, as you can see, she has a bit of moolah. She's a very successful fashion designer. Very famous, very successful, but she's isolated herself into her own home, and she has a servant who she basically treats very sadistically. I mean, she never says a word. That's the fascinating thing about her servant, who as she's going to walk by here, she's still working on a canvas that she's been ordered to work on. But I really love this moment right here where she's, she's very robotic. She does everything that Petra wants her to do. But in this rare moment, Petra just decides to just grab her and start a bit of a slow dance, which obviously clues us into Petra's like for women, and obviously has been generating some lesbian feelings very recently in her life. Obviously, she will explain later, the different husbands that she's had, and will also showcase through through the reaction of the servant here what her life is really like. I mean, that's why I find the servant character so very fascinating, because here again, she never says a word, and she is constantly, and I mean constantly, reacting to Petra von Kant's rather sad, sadistic life that she's carved out for herself. And and here she's put on a record, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. When she started playing this, I started to think, now, wait a minute. American Graffiti came out a year after this and used that song, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. I mean, sure, they probably used it throughout the 1960s, ever since the song was written and produced. But I found that interesting that Rainer Werner Fassbender threw that song in before George Lucas did it for American Graffiti, because I think that's how it got really international attention after that. But Marlene, did you hear me? Yeah, she's constantly barking orders at her. She's constantly, and Marlene is just basically just taking it without saying a word. She's very, very submissive, while Petra is very, very dominant. And what I actually kind of like is that Rainer Werner Fassbender, he dares not to give the true background between these two characters. I mean, granted, I saw this movie only once today. I do not remember a single word said about Marlene in terms of how she came to work for Petra. I mean, like I said, they briefly bring her up. Another character says that she's, rather strange, smiles at her very briefly. And Petra basically is like, don't worry about her. She loves me, and she does whatever I want. Whatever I want, she does it for me. So I mean, that's basically. Look, you can speculate on this relationship all you want, and of course there are little subtle clues thrown throughout the entire play or movie here, which gives us an idea of what exactly transpired between both Marlene and Petra. And I love how they're looking in both the left direction here. Marlene is concentrating on the canvas, and Petra is just basically, kind of talking to herself and lost in her own little world. And of course, Marlene hears all this. I mean, she's there in the room the whole time, and she listens to every word she says. I mean, she witnesses everything that Petra does. And so she becomes, not only a very sympathetic character later, but we completely join into her feelings about who this Petra von Kant really is. I mean, it's not entirely told from Marlene's point of view, but we get enough of Marlene's point of view, and it's such a refreshment. It's such a refreshment to what will eventually be some very bitter dealings between her and her other female friends. See, look, I mean, she's constantly observing. I like this right here when her friend comes in, which who we'll talk about in a minute. But notice how Marlene, puts her hand up against the glass, and tilts her head and actually makes her ear within range of what they are saying very, very clearly. She is listening to every single word. She's not doing what she's supposed to do. And like I said, I like how she has her hand up there on the glass. It's almost as if, she is jealous. It's almost as if she wishes she was in that conversation. She wishes that she were actually a part of that group, or that that part of that society, part of that world. Here again, I mean, she never says a word. Her actions are mostly just reactions. And some of them are just downright disgust, as we will eventually see. But I like Fassbinder. He sticks on this shot for a long time. He really does. And as you can see in the background, like, she finally went off to the right and went back to doing what she was doing. But she was at that window for a long time. She was at that window for a while. All right, so we can talk more about Bremen later, but we need to introduce another cast member here. This is Valerie. Excuse me. No. This is Katrin Schaake. Katrin Schaake, Katrin, Katrin Schaake, Schaake. And she plays Petra von Kant's friend and associate, Sidonie von Grassenab. And see, unfortunately, I have nothing on her where I'm looking at. Let me go to another website. I have profiles on all of them except her. Let me see if I can find something here. But yeah, she seems to be still alive too. She was born in 1931 in Hamburg, Germany, and she's primarily known for the bitter tears of Petra von Kant. Although she was also in she was also in the Woody Allen film What's New, Pussycat. That was the very first movie that Woody Allen ever wrote. He didn't direct it. In fact, it was because of that film and also Casino Royale that he started to direct in the late 1960s. But she was only in a handful of films. Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, Bob Moraine, and What's New, Pussycat. And she was actually she was actually married at one point to the German director Uli Lommel. Who of course had frequent collaborations with Rainer Werner Fassbinder, and they had a creative partnership that lasted for 10 years. They produced over 20 films together. Uli Lommel is one of the most consistently creative filmmakers to come from the new German cinema movement. So yeah, she got married to Uli Lommel for many, many years. And for those of you who have never seen an Uli Lommel movie, I mean, like something like what was, damn it, what was the Boogeyman, the Boogeyman, with those heavy uses of mirrors and everything. I mean, he's very, very well known in the horror community. Like, he's also directed movies like Zombie Nation, Daniel the Wizard. He actually put out a Boogeyman 2 director's cut, uncredited. Strangers in Paradise, Monkey Business, Satan's Brew, Shadow of Angels, movies like that. And we'll, of course, talk about Rainer Werner Fassbinder's filmography in a few moments. But yeah, that's about it as far as Katrin Schaake is concerned. I mean, her last work was in 2013 called First Fassbinder. I believe that was something made in tribute to the director, obviously. But she did a few TV shows like in the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s in Germany. She was actually in the very famous 1980 miniseries Berlin Alexanderplatz, which is notoriously like 15 or 16 hours in length, and Criterion put that out as well. So she's also in that. But this seems to be her most well-known and celebrated role in her entire filmography. But she did quite a few movies in the 60s as well, and also worked in the script and continuity department on other films. Yeah, married to Uli Lommel. That's amazing right there. So going back to Margit Carstensen, who plays Petra von Kant right here. So she worked under Fassbinder's direction in a comedy by the 18th century Venetian Carlo Goldani called The Coffee Shop, which was recorded for television in 1970, bringing her national attention in West Germany. She subsequently played the role of serial murderess Gish Gottfried in the premiere of Fassbinder's own play Bremen Freedom, also televised in 1972, the same year that Petra von Kant came out. And then in the title role of Henrik Ibsen's play Nora Helmer in 1974, derived from A Doll's House. From 1973 to 76, Carstensen held a steady acting engagement in Darmstadt, and the next year worked once again in Hamburg. In 1977, she moved to what was then West Berlin, where she performed on the highly regarded Staatliche Schauspielhaus in 1982. I know. It's hilarious that I'm mangling all these German names, but like I said, I mean, maybe next year when I do my international films, I'll be a little bit more prepared to actually get these these all this right in terms of how you say the words. But for right now, over the years, she's also performed in many smaller roles on the most important of the German language stages. For example, making several appearances in the Munich Kammerspiel. By the late 1980s, she had developed ongoing working relationships with German directors Werner Schroeder, Christoph Schillingshoff, and Leander Hassmann. In 1995, she followed Hassmann to Bochum in order to work with him there. For the 2003-04 season, Carstensen appeared in Vienna Burg Theater in the premiere of Alfred Jelinek's play Bambiland under the direction of Schygulla. In 2008, she appeared in the Schauspielhaus Bochum, Playhouse Bochum, in Shakespeare's As You Like It. And she's best known outside Germany for the many film and television productions of Rainer Werner Fassbender. She played leading roles in Petra von Kant, her best known role, Martha, 1974, with Karl-Heinz Bohm, analyzing a traditional marriage in a contemporary setting, Fear of Fear, in 1975, Mother Custer's Trip to Heaven, 75, Satan's Brew, 76, Chinese Roulette, and Women in New York in 77. She also appeared in individual episodes of two Fassbinder television productions, 8 Hours Don't Make a Day in 1972, and of course, Berlin Alexanderplatz. I almost forgot that Fassbinder had directed that. I tried watching Berlin Alexanderplatz. I really tried. Unfortunately, I couldn't get past the first episode, and there are 14 episodes for basically one long movie. Maybe I'll go back to it someday, but it's not going to be anytime soon. That was the first time I tried watching a Fassbinder movie. I think that was the wrong one to choose, to be perfectly honest. Margit Carstensen also worked in international productions. In the fifth film made by Polish director Andrzej Zulawski, Possession, in 1981, which was a French-German co-production, she performed together with Isabelle Adjani, Sam Neill, and Heinz Bennett. 4 years later, she worked with Polish director Agnieszka Holland on her film Angry Harvest, 1985, together with Armin Mueller-Stahl. This film was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. Her artistic collaboration with director Christoph Schiedsengrief began with two of his film projects. In his 100 Years of Adolf Hitler, The Last Hour in the Führer Bunker in 1989, she played the part of Magda Goebbels. In his satirical political spoof Terror 2000, Germany Out of Control, she played the role of a detective. Carstensen has appeared in films by directors such as Leander Hassmann, Romuald Karmakar, Chris Kraus, a role for which he won the Bavarian Film Award for Best Actress, Oscar Roller, Agnes and His Brothers, 2004, and Detlef Buck in Hands of Mississippi in 2007. During the 2007 and 8 season, Carstensen assisted with the Austrian-German TV documentary Mr. Karl, A Person for People, directed by Kurt Meyer. And see, she's received many awards. She won the 1973 German Gold Film Award for her acting here in The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. And in 1972, she was also chosen by the German Film Critics Guild as Best Actress of the Year. So this was a huge, huge, huge year for Margit Carstensen and her career. And I say it, this is probably her quintessential performance on film. And I found her mesmerizing from the very beginning. I mean, of course, constantly questioning why she is doing what she's doing and why she seems to be so mean to people. You know, like what is the stick up her ass? What is the deal with Petra von Kant? Well, like I said here in this scene, you know, she basically explains her previous, deals with her husbands and everything. I mean, they talk a lot about male relationships, and all throughout this time, Marlene is just doing the work, acting as hostess, and reacting to all this. Codes of behavior. Why keep? Yeah. That's the one thing about international films is that if you don't keep up with the dialogue, I mean, sure, you could listen to the German dialogue, but if you don't know German, you don't know what they're saying. So it's like, well, I gotta talk about this stuff now and that, and I don't know what they're saying half the time. But I really like this film. Do I want to buy the Criterion Blu-ray? I'm tempted to. I'm definitely tempted to. Uh, it's really interesting. When I finished this movie for the first time earlier today, my reaction was one of great surprise because, Fassbinder, I think, pulls off a feat which few directors do, and that is make a stage adaptation exciting, even when we never leave that one location. And I think he pulls it off. Now, look how he's slowly moving the camera. We still see Marlene in, basically still working on the canvas back there. She's listening to every word that these two women are saying. And we're constantly reminded that she's there. Look how Fassbinder is now, turning the camera around. And we're about to get both women in profile here. One at a distance and one in front of the camera. Very mesmerizing. I mean, look how clean that camera movement is. Look how clean that is. Kind of Marlene in the back there, she kind of looks like a younger version of like Whistler's mother, being in that kind of position. Just swept me away. I was breathless for joy. Now, see, there she stops. And she's actually watching her and listening to her. Well, I mean, her hand probably gets tired after a while. Come on. She has to take a break sometime. And now Fassbinder is zooming in on Marlene, listening to Petra von Kant. Made no difference to me whether a man was on top or not. Yeah. Yeah, Fassbender keeps on her for a few minutes, then we go out of focus and back to Petra von Kant in close-up here. Gradually, the honesty began to die. I mean, if anything, this is definitely, I think, a fascinating character study. Look at the light shining on the painting there. Isn't that awesome? That is insane. So yeah, we're approximately 30 minutes and 30 seconds into The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. I was going to talk about the cinematographer real quick, Michael Ballhaus. He passed away in 2017. He just passed away, like I said, about 5 years ago. And he's worked with Martin Scorsese. He's worked with Mike Nichols and James L. Brooks. Let's go down this man's filmography. And what's amazing is that The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant was only his third film. And this is definitely the film that put him on the map and made him an in-demand cinematographer, and for very good reason. But in 1971, he started out with two films, one of them called Whitey, and the other one called Beware of a Holy Whore. Uh, yeah, yeah, that was the name of the one of the first films he shot, Beware of a Holy Whore. I do not think that's a pornography movie, but and then see, all these movies are by Rainer Werner Fassbinder. So he started out with Fassbinder in 1971 and basically shot all his films up until 75, which also include World on a Wire, Martha, Fox and His Friends, and Mother Custer's Trip to Heaven. After that, he then continued working with Fassbinder until 79 with Satan's Brew, Chinese Roulette, Germany in Autumn, Despair, and of course Fassbinder's other classic known as The Marriage of Maria Braun. Now, just to let everybody know, because I mean, Fassbinder, he died very, very young. He was 37 years old when he died, which that is insanely young. And yet he churned out a good number of films from 1965 to 1983, which was his last film when he did a segment for television. But his last big film was Curel in 1982. But anyway, let's get back to Michael Ballhaus, because we'll be going back to Fassbinder. We'll be going back to him. But as for Michael Ballhaus, he also shot for Martin Scorsese. He shot After Hours. And yes, he also shot Goodfellas, which he won the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Award for Best Cinematography. But he also shot The Color of Money and The Last Temptation of Christ for Scorsese as well. He also shot The Glass Menagerie for Paul Newman, Broadcast News for James L. Brooks, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels for Frank Oz, Working Girl with Mike Nichols, Postcards from the Edge for Mike Nichols, What About Bob, Guilty by Suspicion. He also shot Bram Stoker's Dracula for Francis Ford Coppola, which is I need to see Dracula again. It's been a while, but I definitely need to see Bram Stoker's Dracula again. So, but he did shoot that. He was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Cinematography for not just The Fabulous Baker Boys and Goodfellas, but also for The Age of Innocence, also directed by Martin Scorsese. And he was also nominated for an Academy Award for Gangs of New York. I'm actually really surprised he's never won an Oscar, but he has won many other accolades for his work. And finally, he also shot Quiz Show, Outbreak, Sleepers, Air Force One, Primary Colors. Probably the worst film he shot was Wild Wild West for Barry Sonnenfeld. But he also shot What Planet Are You From?, The Legend of Bagger Vance, Uptown Girls, Something's Gotta Give. The Departed, he shot The Departed in 2006. That was his very last collaboration with Martin Scorsese. And then finally, his last movie was 3,906 Days, which came out in 2013. And see, that's a German film, actually. Yeah, that's a German film based on the true story of Natascha Kampusch, a 10-year-old girl and her 8-year-old ordeal being kidnapped by Wolfgang somebody. Northern Irish actress Antonia Campbell Hughes portrays Kampusch, while Thur Lindhart plays the killer or the kidnapper. Yeah, that was his very last film in 2013, and then he passed away in 2017. That's a hell of a resume right there. I mean, you can't really. I mean, look. I mean, I think I mean, of all. I mean, his Scorsese, his work with Scorsese, I'm sure is very much celebrated now. I mean, particularly with Goodfellas and everything. But yeah, this was one of his very first movies that he shot in 1972, and it's. I mean, considering the fact he only has one location to work with, it's mesmerizing. It is absolutely mesmerizing. Now we are introduced to uh, Petra von Kant's object of obsession in this movie. Yes, this movie is very much about obsession, as we will soon find out. But she meets this 23-year-old model named Karen Tim. And the actress here is Hanna Schygulla. Hanna Schygulla. She was born on Christmas Day in 1943. Yeah, she was actually born in Nazi Germany on Christmas Day. There you go. German actress and chanson singer associated with the theater and film director Werner Fassbender. She worked for Fassbinder in 1965, became an active participant in the new German cinema. She won the 1979 Berlin Silver Bear for Best Actress for The Marriage of Maria Braun, also directed by Fassbinder, which I'm going to see that eventually. I mean, I get a little nervous with movies about marriage and marriage being in the title and everything. But yeah, I'm going to have to, after loving Petra von Kant, I'm going to have to check out The Marriage of Marie Braun. And she also won Best Actress for the Marco Ferrari film The Story of Piera and for the 1983 Cannes Film Festival. And she was actually born in Poland, not Germany. She was actually born in Poland, but her nationality is German. In the 1960s, Schygulla studied Romance languages and German studies while taking acting lessons in Munich during her spare time. Acting eventually became her focus, and she became particularly known for her film work with Fassbinder during the making of Effi Briest in 1974, an adaptation of a German novel by Theodor Fontane. Fassbinder and Schygulla fell out over divergent interpretations of the character. Another issue for Schygulla was low pay, and she led a revolt against Fassbinder during the making of Effi Briest, shot in September 1972, sometime before its commercial release. So this was after Petra von Kant was shot and in the can, because Petra von Kant, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, actually premiered at the Berlinale, which is the Berlin Film Festival, in July, and then it was released all throughout West Germany in October. So this was actually before that. And his response to her revolt was typically blunt. I can't stand the side of your face anymore. You bust my balls. Let me say that again. Schygulla was upset over low pay and divergent interpretations of the character. She led a revolt against Fassbinder during the making of his next film, shot in September 1972, after Petra von Kant premiered at the Berlinale. And his response was very typically blunt. I can't stand the side of your face anymore. You bust my balls. Well, I don't know. I happen to like her face, okay? I actually fell in love with her face in this movie, which, of course, made me think, oh, no, now I'm going to become obsessed with her like the lead character, something. I mean, this is not Vertigo. This is not Vertigo at all, but yeah, 39 minutes in. We are 39 minutes in, almost 40 minutes in, actually, and we are about to start Act 2 of Werner Fassbinder's The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, where, okay, yeah, see, she just yelled at Marlene, get the bell, get the bell. Like, oh, you can't answer the door yourself for once? Like, Jesus. I'm not ready yet. Oh, whatever. Yeah, whatever, you're not ready yet. And her reveal of this dress is pretty amazing right here. When she finally gets in focus and we finally see exactly what she's wearing. Oh, we know what this woman is up to. We know what this woman is up to. We know what she's going to do. She's got a plan. But she needs a few more moments. She needs to be fashionably late for the very, very beautiful Karen Tim. Yeah, you'll be hearing that name a lot. Karen. You'll be hearing that name a lot. Probably more than Watcher in the Woods, to be perfectly honest. And she's obviously dressed for anything too. See, okay, I get it. Like they go over for these modeling sessions and like, okay, we have to wear something that obviously catches the eye, but could any of you sleep with that painting next to you? Seriously? Could any of you do that? I don't know if I could. It's a nice painting, but by God. And I love it when she gets the food and refreshments later because it's almost like they become the women in that very painting for a moment with both the fashion as well as the food. But as we will soon see, I mean, Petra von Kant basically wears, a different dress in every act, and she has a different hairstyle in every act. Now, she's obviously wearing a series of wigs because apparently she's not exactly enthralled with her very plain auburn hair, which we'll finally see near the end of the movie. But so yeah, check out what she's wearing right here, and it's pretty obvious that there's definitely an attraction in the room. There's definitely some sexual suspense, as it were. But just to talk a little bit more about Hanna Schygulla, let's see. And also, the marriage of Maria Braun was entered into the 29th Berlin International Film Festival, the Berlinale, basically, where she won the Silver Bear for Best Actress for her performance. And she was also in Berlin Alexanderplatz as well. She starred alongside Bruno Ganz in Volker Schlondorf's Circle of Deceit in 1981, and with Isabelle Huppert in Jean-Luc Godard's Passion in 1982. She was a member of the jury at the 15th Moscow International Film Festival in 1987. In the 1990s, she became a chanson singer. In Julianne Lorenz's documentary film Life, Love, and Celluloid in 1998 on Fassbender-related topics, Schygulla performs several songs. She appeared in the Bela Tarr film Werkmeister Harmonies in 2000 and in VB 51, 2002, a performance by the artist Vanessa Beecroft. 5 years later, she appeared in the film The Edge of Heaven, directed by Fatih Akin. She also appeared in Rosa von Praunheim's film Fassbinder's Women in 2007. In 2007, she received the honorary award for the Antelia Gordon Orange Film Festival. In 2010, she received the honorary Golden Bear from the Berlinale. She acted in the Alexander Sakura film Faust, 2011, and in the French drama The Prayer, 2018 by Cedric Kahn. It was screened in the main competition section of the 68th Berlin International Film Festival. She lived in Paris from 1981 to 2014 when she left for Berlin. So she now resides in Berlin. And let's see, going through her resume real quick. Her first film was in 1969. She actually made 4 films that year, including Hunting Scenes from Bavaria, Love is Colder Than Death, and Katzelmacher. In 1972 to 73, she was in a TV miniseries called 8 Hours Don't Make a Day. I weirdly enough liked that title. I don't know why, but she was in Antionetta, 1982. She was in the Delta Force. We all remember that canon classic, don't we, with Lee Marvin and Chuck Norris. She played a stewardess in the Delta Force. Now, but she was also in Dead Again, the romantic thriller neo noir, directed by Kenneth Branagh and written by Scott Frank. So she actually had a huge key role in that. I haven't seen it for 30 years, but I remember it being quite good. 101 Nights, 1995. The Girl of Your Dreams, 1998, which is where she played Magda Goebbels. Avanti in 2002. And her last film was actually the 2022 French drama Peter von Kant. Now, Peter von Kant is, in fact, a loose adaptation of Werner Fassbinder's Petra von Kant, which he adapted into a film in 1972. Not Fassbinder, but Francois Ozon. He adapted Petra von Kant in 2022, 50 years after the original, with the protagonist's gender changed. So it's basically a gender swap remake, where instead of Petra von Kant, the fashion designer from Bremen, Germany, we now have a male director standing in as Peter von Kant. And the movie, which also has Isabelle Adjani, it was released in Berlin on February 10th of this year, and it was given a wide release in France on July 6th. I'm going to have to check that out. It's only 85 minutes. Strand Releasing acquired the U.S. rights for the film, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 74% score. So evidently, people do very much like Peter von Kant, which is, like I said, a German swap, loose adaptation, but at the same time, it no doubt honors this film and Fassbinder as well. Now, see, yeah, she brought out all the fruit and everything, just like, stay, have some fruit, have some cognac. Now, we already watched it, but I love the moment in the first act when she actually gives Karen the shot of the cognac. They take it, they put it back on the tray, and then Fassbinder just like holds on them for like a beat, like at least like 20 seconds or so. And it's just fascinating seeing them like just stare out into space for a minute, letting the cognac, get into their bloodstream and everything. And they're just like, maybe I should hang out a little more with her. But I mean, both women are ravishing as hell, if you ask me. I mean, they're both ravishing as hell in this scene. She goes closer to the painting. I wonder why. And of course, Karen talks about her situation. She has a husband who's in Australia, and Petra kind of just blows that off. But yeah, this is Hanna Schygulla is 78 years old, by the way, but she is still with us as well. Both actresses are very much still with us, and rightly celebrated for this movie, as well as Fassbinder's other movies. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about Fassbinder in some detail, because I've always known him by name. It wasn't until I tried watching Berlin Alexanderplatz, which, like I said, is a 15-hour movie based on a German miniseries. Criterion put it out. That's when I tried watching it. I just couldn't get past the first episode. I tried, but I couldn't. So I thought if I was going to return to Fassbinder, it's going to have to be with another movie. And so I made it for Petra von Kant, which I think was actually the perfect choice. But he was born May 31st, 1945, just as World War II was ending. And German filmmaker, actor, playwright, theater director, composer, editor, and essayist. Is widely regarded as a prominent figure and catalyst of the new German cinema movement. His main theme was the exploitability of feelings. That was the main theme that permeated all throughout his work, the exploitability of feelings. His films dealt with the Nazi past, the German economic miracle of the terror of the Red Army faction. His first feature-length film was a gangster movie called Love is Colder Than Death in 1969. He scored his first domestic commercial success with The Merchant of Four Seasons, which also came out in 1972. So I decided to do Petra von Kant instead. But let's see. Merchant of Four Seasons, the plot follows a life of a fruit peddler living in 1950s Munich who is driven over the edge by an uncaring society. The title derives from the French expression for a fruit and vegetable seller. The film explores issues of class prejudices, domestic violence, infidelity, family discord, depression, and self-destructive behavior. Many of those are in Petra von Kant as well. So, yeah. His first international success was Ali, Fear Eats the Soul, which is a West German film which won the International Federation of Film Critics Award for Best In-Competition Movie and the prize of the Ecumenical Jury at the 74 Cannes Film Festival, considered to be one of Fassbinder's most powerful works, and is hailed by many as a masterpiece. The film revolves around the romance that develops between Emmy, an elderly German woman, and Ali, a Moroccan migrant worker in post-World War II Germany. Fassbinder died on June 10th, 1982 at age 37. Yeah, 37 years old. From a lethal cocktail of cocaine and barbiturates. His career lasted less than 2 decades, but he was extremely prolific. He completed over 40 feature films, 2 television series, 3 short films, 4 video productions, and 24 plays. All by the age of 37. That is extraordinary. That is absolutely extraordinary. So this is in the period of his German melodramas, which were kind of inspired by Douglas Sirk and the films that he made in the 1950s, like All That Heaven Allows, Magnificent Obsession, and Imitation of Life. Fassbinder was attracted to these films not only because of their entertainment value, but also for their depiction of various kinds of repression and exploitation. Loneliness is a common theme in Fassbinder's work, together with the idea that power becomes a determining factor in all human relationships. His characters yearn for love, but seem condemned to exert an often violent control over those around them. And that's Petra von Kant in a nutshell. The title character is a fashion designer who lives in a self-created dreamland, and the action is restricted mostly to her lavish bedroom. After the failure of her second marriage, Petra falls hopelessly and obsessively in love with Karin, a cunning young working-class woman who wants a career in modeling. The model's exploitation of Petra mirrors Petra's extraordinary psychological abuse of her silent assistant, Marlene. Fassbinder portrays the slow meltdown of these relationships as inevitable, and his actresses, there are no men in this film, not one single man, move in a slow, trance-like way that hints at a vast world of longing beneath the beautiful, brittle surface. So, So, among Fassbinder's other films, which I will surely check out a few more of them in the future, what we have is Beware of a Holy Whore, The Merchant of Four Seasons, 8 Hours Don't Make a Day, which I mentioned before, World on a Wire, Martha, Effie Briest, Fox and His Friends, Mother Custer's Trip to Heaven, Satan's Brew, Chinese Roulette, The Third Generation, Veronica Voss. Now, his last movie, which I'm afraid I'm going to have to check out eventually, even though there were a lot of critics who, declared this as like his worst movie. It's called Curel. This is his last movie that was released in 1982. But it's basically about a handsome Belgian sailor who is also a thief and a murderer. When his ship arrives in Brest, he visits the Feria, a bar and brothel for sailors run by the Madame Liziane, whose lover Robert is Curel's brother. Curel has a love-hate relationship with his brother. When they meet at La Feria, they embrace but also punch one another slowly and repeatedly in the belly. Lizzie Ann's husband Nono works behind the bar and also manages La Feria's underhanded affairs with the assistance of his friend, the corrupt police captain Mario. And this movie, apparently there's a lot of sexual assault, there's a lot of sodomy, there's a lot of anal sex and everything, opium, drugs of that kind of nature. From what I understand, it's a very, very rough film to watch. And Brad Davis, Franco Nero, Jean Moreau, I mean, these are pretty huge names in film. But, look, I used to be a sailor myself, so something tells me I'm going to have to see Curel eventually. But as one critic, Vincent Canby of the New York Times said, was, quote, "It's a mess, a detour that leads to a dead end." Penny Ashbrook calls Curel Fassbinder's, quote, "perfect epitaph," an intensely personal statement that is the most uncompromising portrayal of gay male sensibility to come from a major filmmaker. Edmund White considers Curel the only film based on Gannett's book that works, calling it visually as artificial and menacing as Gannett's prose. Gannett, in discussion with Shador, said that he had not seen the film, commenting, quote, "You can't smoke at the movies." Oh, wow. Wow. And on top of all that, it was also nominated for the 1984 Razzie Award for Worst Original Song for Jean Moreau singing "Each Man Kills the Thing He Loves." First of all, how the hell can you nominate Jean Moreau for a friggin' Razzie Award? That just seems so wrong. I can't even expound upon it. But yeah, that was his last film at the age of 37, called Curel. But yeah, he is considered one of the great German directors, and media scandals and controversies ensured that in Germany, Fassbinder was permanently in the news, making calculatedly provocative remarks in interviews. His work often received mixed reviews from the national critics, many of whom only began to take him seriously after the foreign press had hailed him as a major director. There were frequent exposés of his lifestyle in the press, and attacks on all sides from the groups of his films offended. His television series 8 Hours Don't Make a Day was cut from 8 to 5 episodes after pressure from conservatives. Oh, I want to see it even more now. Thank you. The playwright Franz Xavier Kreutz sued over Fassbinder's adaptation of his play Jailbait, alleging that it was obscene. Lesbians and feminists accused Fassbinder of misogyny in presenting women as complicit in their own oppression in his quote-unquote women's pictures. The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant has been cited by some feminist and gay critics as both homophobic and sexist. Well, I might have to disagree with them. I did not feel that at all here. I didn't feel it at all. I think that for example, I think her mother is very shocked at the end that she's in love with another woman, but she doesn't necessarily chastise her. She doesn't necessarily condemn her for having that choice. So I'm going to have to disagree with the feminist and gay critics on this one. I don't think this film is homophobic or sexist, believe it or not. Maybe a couple more viewings would change my mind, but as far as what I have seen of it, I do not consider, I don't really detect any homophobia or sexism in this movie. Although men might say it's sexist just because there's no men in the movie, but come on. I mean, it's a movie about women, and it's a movie about, dealing with their relationships and their struggles and their independence and everything. And now, yes, Petra von Kant is a domineering, she's domineering and she's psychologically abusive, but that doesn't necessarily, aid into an argument that this movie is homophobic. At least I don't think so. But I mean, like the way she treats Marlene is, it's rough, but at the same time, that pays off in a huge, huge way, as you will eventually see. Look at the pineapple. Look at the pineapple and all the fruits and everything. Like, can you imagine what Marlene is thinking just bringing that tray of fruit into them? Can you just imagine? Because I mean, earlier in fact, it's in this scene right here. It's in this very scene right here where we begin to detect a lot of disgust coming from Marlene, because she obviously knows what's about to happen. Is she experiencing jealousy? Is she revolted for some other reason? What is going on with Marlene here? And she's going to play another song. There's only 3 songs in this movie, believe it or not. There's only 3 songs in the whole movie. But let me finish this real quick. Gay critics also criticized Fox and his friends for not positively depicting homosexuality in bourgeois society, feeling Fassbinder had betrayed them. Conservatives attacked him for his association with the far left. Marxists said he had sold out his political principles in his depictions of left intellectual manipulations in Mother Custer's Trip to Heaven, and of a late-blooming terrorist in the third generation. Berlin Alexanderplatz was moved to late-night television slot aimed amid widespread complaints that it was unsuitable for children. The most heated criticism came for his play Trash, the City, and Death, whose scheduled performance at the theater Am Turn in Frankfurt was canceled early in 1975 amid charges of anti-Semitism. In the turmoil, Fassbender resigned from his directorship of that prestigious theater complex, complaining that the play had been misinterpreted. The play is about an unscrupulous and very greedy Jewish businessman in Frankfurt who ruthlessly uses German guilt over the Holocaust to make himself rich. Though published at the time and quickly withdrawn, the play was not performed until 5 years after Fassbinder's death by Thieves Theater in 1987 at ABC No Rio. By the time he made his last film, Curel, Fassbinder was consuming significant quantities of drugs and alcohol. And we will definitely see that in terms of Petra von Kant coming very, very soon. On the night of June 9th, 10th, 1982, Wolf Grimm, director of the film Kamikaze 1989, which starred Fassbinder, was staying in his apartment. Earlier that evening, Fassbinder retired to his bedroom. He was working on notes for a future film, Rosa L., based on the life of Polish-German revolutionary socialist Rosa Luxemburg. Fassbinder was watching television while reading when, shortly after 1 a.m., he received a phone call from his friend and assistant Harry Bear. At 3:30 a.m., when Julian Lorenz arrived home, she heard the noise of the television in Fassbinder's room, but she could not hear him snoring. Though not allowed to enter the room uninvited, she went in and discovered his lifeless body with a cigarette still between his lips. A thin ribbon of blood trickled from one nostril. Fassbinder died from an overdose of cocaine and barbiturates at age 37. The notes for Rosa L. were found next to his body. His remains were interred at the Bogenhausen Friedhof in Munich. And just real quick, let me see. Okay, so there are a number of films and documentaries made about Rainer Werner Fassbinder, if you're interested. There was a 1977 German documentary made by Florian Hoff and Maximilian Menke, which runs 29 minutes. Life Stories, a conversation with RWF in 1978, a TV documentary made by Peter W. Jansen as a part of a regular series, contains an in-depth interview given by RWF in the Paris home, originally aired on March 18th, 1978, and that runs an hour in length. So yeah, Rainer, from now on, I'm going to refer to Rainer Werner Fassbinder as RWF, just to make it simple. RWF Last Works, a German TV documentary made by Wolf Grimm during the shooting of Kamikaze in 1989. Room 666. Along with a number of his peers, Fassbinder participated in this Wim Wenders documentary project. Eva Mattes plays a fictionalized version of Fassbender in this film directed by Rodu Gabria. I Don't Just Want You to Love Me, 1992, a feature-length documentary on Fassbender's career, running 90 minutes. The Women of Fassbender, running an hour, German television documentary made by Thomas Honigel with interviews with Margit Carstensen, who plays Petra von Kant, Irm Herman, Hanna Schygulla, also in Petra von Kant as Karen, and briefly Rosal Zek are interviewed. The Many Women of Fassbender, Life, Love, and Celluloid, Fassbender in Hollywood, Fassbender's Women, and finally a 2020 film directed by Oscar Rohrer called Infant Terrible, which is about the German film director, and it was selected to be shown at the 2020 Cannes Film Festival with Oliver Masucci as Rainer Werner Fassbender. And it's 134 minutes. So, and I don't really see any like critical reaction here, but yeah, it's a 134-minute movie where a German actor plays Rainer Werner Fassbender. So for anybody who is more interested in Fassbender and his work, all of that you should definitely check out. Now, we are coming up here on 1 hour and 7 minutes, very close to 1 hour and 7 minutes. And as you can see, we have now entered Act 3 of The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. It's 6 months later. And usually with these fade outs, that's basically telling you where we've entered a new act. Remember, this is an adaptation of a play written by Fassbinder. And as you can see in this act, Petra von Kant is sporting a red wig and a completely different dress this time. I actually really like a lot of the dresses and the clothes in this movie. I mean, like I said, Fassbinder was pretty deliberate in, and she's still wearing that black dress. I mean, it's almost like she wears the exact same dress. Now, okay, this is one of my favorite moments right here. See, look, she looks up at Karen and she smiles right here. And how does she appear again? I begin to think she's screwy. Oh yeah, we're about to see how screwy she is. She went under the bed. She actually crawled all the way under the bed just to get her damn shoes. And look how Petra is like leaning on her and everything. Like, come on. Like, really? She can't do anything for herself. She absolutely needs she like absolutely needs this woman for everything. Seriously. And why does Marlene put up with it? That's a very good question. Why does she put up with it? Let's talk about Marlene now. Let's talk about the actress Irm Herman. That is her name. She was born in 1942, passed away in 2020. So she just passed away a couple of years ago at the age of 77. Born in Munich, died in Germany. And let's see. When she met Rainer Werner Fassbender in 1966, he convinced her to quit her job to work with him, although she lacked formal training as an actress. The same year, Herman made her debut in Fassbinder's short film, The City Tramp, and then went on to play in 19 of Fassbinder's films, including Petra von Kant, and she was usually cast as a frustrated, stuffy woman. Okay, now I'm beginning to think why maybe some lesbian and women critics have issues with his characters, but her one leading role in his films, Irmgard Epp, in the 1971 film The Merchant of Four Seasons, won her the Deutscher Film Prize award. Well, I'll tell you though, his films, they all seem to have made a big impact with critics and audiences. I mean, and won a lot of awards. So, she was usually cast as she was a member of Fassbinder's complicated professional and personal entourage and became one of his confidants. But the relationship also involved abusive behavior by Fassbinder towards her. And after his death, she said he had been physically abusive. Oh boy. In the mid-1970s, Herman broke with Fassbinder and moved to Berlin, where her character developed. She played in numerous film and television productions with directors such as Tancred Dorst, Werner Herzog, Hans W. Geisendorfer, and Christoph Schiggenslaff. Her performance as Else Gabel, a woman in prison with the resistance fighter Sophie Scholl, in Percy Adlon's 1982 Fünf letzte Tage, or The Last 5 Days, was again honored with a Deutscher Film Prize in 1983. She liked to play in comedies such as Larote's 1991 Papa Anti Portis, Habe Kerkeling's 1996 Will und die Winzes, a fictionalized version of the late Queen Elizabeth II, and Rudolph Thome's 1999 Paradiso, 7 Days with 7 Women. Paradiso won a Silver Bear at the 2000 Berlinale for artistic achievement. She also appeared in Rosa von Proheim's Fassbinder's Women. And overall, she appeared in over 160 film and television productions until 2018. She played on stage at the Berlin Volksbühne and with the Berliner Ensemble. She was married to Dietmar Roberg, an author of children's books, and together they had 2 sons. And like I said, she passed away at the age of 77 only 2 years ago in 2020. Her last film for Fassbinder was in the movie Lily Marlene in 1981, which also had Hanna Schygulla, by the way, and Giancarlo Giannini, the Italian actor who will be in The Seduction of Mimi, the film I will be covering tomorrow. Okay. So that means that the only 2 actresses that we haven't talked about yet, we have not seen them yet. Gisela Facalde as Valerie von Kant, Petra's mother, and Eva Mattis, who plays Gabrielle or Gabby von Kant, Petra's daughter. And obviously Petra has already said, she does have a daughter that she says she never sees, but she's okay. She's comfortable with the fact that she's in the best boarding school in the world or whatever. Wow. Like you don't even talk to her. You don't even send letters to each other. Like, wow. She's so busy in the fashion world, she doesn't even have time for her own damn daughter. And you can see right here, and I love Karen right here. I love Hanna Schygulla's performance in that she knows where this is going. She sees the writing on the wall, and while she loves Petra von Kant for making her a top model, she also wants to go out and dance and be her own woman and have fun without Petra von Kant. And this is actually a very show-stopping moment where she confesses that she was out dancing with a man the night before. And she says right here, a big black man with a big black dick. Like she just grabbed the big black dick and just like slapped it across Petra's face to tell her to shut up. Like, wow. Yes. Look at Marlene's reaction. Like, okay. It's like, I heard you. And of course, time for another round. Yeah, talk about drowning in the bottle, a big black man with a big black cock. It comes right out with it. Yep. And it's a little weird seeing all these mannequins all over the place, but we'll see what Petra does with those mannequins in the 4th act of the movie coming up here very soon. But yeah, it's 6 months later. Karen is tired of, being in bed with Petra whenever they're not quote unquote working, basically, and realizes, hey, I need more freedom. I need to have more fun. And if I want to be out with a big black man with a big black cock, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. And those lips, those blacks have all those big, warm lips. Yeah. And she starts laughing. Like, don't faint. Hey, Katrina, how you doing tonight? It's so wonderful to see you. We are approximately 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 30 seconds, 1 hour, 15, 30, 40 seconds into The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, and it is available on YouTube. Just as a reminder, there's the link right there. And I love what she says right here. You know, we always said we wanted to be frank with each other. You know, no lies and that kind of thing. Now, when I saw this, I said to myself, okay, that is a fake tear. That is all too obviously a fake tear, as if you can't tell. But I think that's intentional on Fassbinder's part. I think that Fassbinder, you know, because we are going to see real tears from Karen later. And I think that Fassbinder is basically saying that, you know, Petra is, you know, incapable of having tears almost. That, you know, her tears come from a dishonest place, from a rather sadistic, dishonest place where she feels like she has to own this woman aside from being her fashion designer. So, you know, it's, hmm. And see how Fassbender moves his camera to the right as we slowly but surely see the beginning of the downfall, as Petra, you know, realizes that she's about to lose another woman that she's quote unquote fell in love with, that she's become obsessed with. And I like what Fassbender has her do, you know, with the drink and being on the bed frame and everything. So let me see if I can find this. Just 1 second here. Hmm. Hmm. All right, let's get a bit more analytical here. Let's get a bit more analytical. The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant showcases an intellectual sensation where sexuality blossoms to propel Werner Fassbinder's work. The stylish cinematographic narration offers the film a sense of illustrious activity based on creativity. Probably Fassbinder's filmmaking explores the very foundation for which style makes cinematography exceptional. The film is rich in romantic quality. It explores typical love that makes life worth living. In the film, we meet the intrinsically deeply basest romance. It gives an aura of confession to the attraction of affection, of modernity. In these scales, Fassbinder explores human affection and attraction to the new world. New world order drives everyone near, and Petra von Kant is no exemption. In these machinations, she has been offering a startling charm of modesty. Modernity moves the world, and everyone is drifting towards the new light. Markedly, the adventure of the new feeling is not easy to evade. Fassbinder summons his skills in filmmaking to crown his work with aesthetic value by using his characters reservedly to offer the viewers with the contemporary thinking trends that capture the life of the moment. Several cinematic techniques in the film help and underline the plot. Therefore, the use of costume, as well as the choice of weather, makes Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant an impressive account to watch. Visually, the gradual change that takes place in Petra as she progressively becomes an acquaintance of modernity is mirrored in her costumes and the type of quittances. First, she starts as a renowned fashion designer with an unwavering business, a feminine-dominated cinema. The tribulations in this film almost occur exclusively in Petra's bedroom, an apartment with a heavy decoration that gives it necessary importance. Petra's room is also bedecked with various admirals, such as mannequins from her very work. Petra has had a rich history of trivial marriages that have ended in either death or divorce. Petra seems unfortunate in marriage life, having lost her first husband in a tragic road accident. It is even said that this premature death took place as Petra was nursing her first pregnancy. Petra's second marriage begun soon afterward in an affectionate note, but ended almost prematurely. Petra has been in other unsuccessful relationships that have ended breaking her heart as they begin cordially, progress magnificently, but end in bleak bereft. Due to the nature of the suffering that has clouded her love life, Petra has made a sworn resolution to keep her heart. She decides to live a life of her own, to attend in her business affairs. In her apartment, she lives with another woman, Marlene, who she treats very badly. Marlene revenges her mistreatment in Petra's hands by revealing her immoral lifestyle. This does not reflect well in Petra and does not make her any better. She decides to destroy her love life. The change in Petra's lifestyle, dressing, and imaging explore the effective use of cinematographic techniques in the film. Virtually, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant embodies the dynamics of the dominant German culture that is usually hard to ignore. Marriage is one of the fundamental privileges of any society in which the film seeks to project and explore. Marriage is such a laudable gift. Whenever marriage happens, it rightly receives the basic credit for the establishment of the family institution, which in essence is the foundation stone for a society. Petra is a prominent fashion designer who prefers her business to take place in the bedroom apartment. Here we meet different partially dressed and nude men. However, this is against society's preserves. Therefore, she holds marital privileges with a lot of esteem, such that whenever there are incidences of infringement in this highly cherished ideal, it raises a great alarm not only to the family unit, but also to the wider society. In this film, Fassbinder volunteers an insightful and extensive excursion of a culture of marriage and divorce that is predominantly characteristic of the 20th century. Basing his premise on the idea of marriage as work, the playwright explores the interaction between marriage and divorce succinctly and divulges on how the concept of marriage requires a lot of work to cushion. It is the duty of the larger society's collective consciousness to ensure sanctity in the marriage. Marriage, as the playwright notes, should not be the duty of a family alone, but it should be the preserve of the greater, wider society. Moreover, he opines that the supremacy of the marriage institution in our societies has evolved over time, and the clear indication of the collapse of this institution in the century seems to portend a worrying trend. Given the benefits attributed to the family unit, it could be difficult to imagine how an individual could resist the beauty that marriage brings forth. Basing her opinion on interviews with newly married couples and extensive research on marriage in general, Pamela Paul, in her book Starter Marriage and the Future of Matrimony, explores why young couples keep on walking out of marriages and what lessons are available about their failures. The author further suggests different ways of avoiding such starter marriages and how to guarantee lifelong marriages for the current generation to live in stronger and promising families. The film focuses on the freedoms and limits of marriage, to the role individuals should play in determining whether limitations should operate to curtail individual freedoms in a marriage union. The idea of going Western by Petra tells a lot about how hard it could be for Germans to let things go out of their ways. The process of white dominion, self-discovery, and the renaming as well as the adoption of individuals into the tribal German society means a lot to the Germans just as it is perceived elsewhere. The Westerners can try to beat this notion anyway, but probably they may always find it hard to beat the Germans at their game. Notably, the German society has perfected the art of proclaiming greatness, and that is usually under the stern challenge based on sheer determination, again, including superiority, might even propaganda. As one watches the film, the screenplay tends to yield a unique perspective on German society and culture. However, at the center, its dramatic version is the physique of a disillusioned white man who is no doubt lost and is trying so hard to find himself. As a mark of cinematic style in The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, repetition has played an impeccable role in its success. As a technique, it helps to lengthen and follow a character's voyage as the film progresses into the future. Whenever characters in the film are talking about their experiences, they kept on repeating their words to bring their point home, thus giving the film projections a musical luster. The purposeful use of still cameras, natural lights, as well as the deft are great enablement to the orchestration of a serene color palette that grants the texture to a harmonious gleam. The rural topography, the transient of the city view, and the costumes of the yesteryear German orientation supplement the film, as well as the soulful songs and dances that are archetypical of the animated crescendo. These rare product qualities make Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant stand out even in the midst of modern type films whose productions are well supplied by digital enablement. In retrospect, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant heralds a new period of fifth generation and a new trend in contemporary German performing art industry. The film by Werner Fassbinder, nonetheless, remains a great feature in the transformation of contemporary filmmaking. Many futurists contend that Fassbinder's work offers a robust element of reference in modern-day cinematographic pedagogy, especially considering its plot, artistic cinematic style, as well as character building and development. Evidently, what Fassbinder achieves in this film projects cinematography in the depths of futuristic filmmaking worldview. Within this film, tragedy and comedy are both present, and their symbiosis herein offers one of the most profoundly overwhelming achievements in filmmaking history. Okay, so we are coming up on 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 30 seconds, where we find out that, of course, Karen is going to be leaving. And this is a very, very bitter scene to watch, pun intended, bitter. Yeah, it's a very hard scene to watch because they're saying goodbye together, saying goodbye to each other isn't exactly tear-inducing or joyful. It's rather very depressing and disturbing, as we will soon see right here. Obviously, Petra is not happy because she's become obsessed with Karen. She's in love with Karen, and she's obsessed with her. And knows that once she leaves, she's probably never, ever going to come back. She thought she and her husband were through, but evidently not. Evidently, she's going to go back to her husband now. You might have at least told me you were in touch again. Yeah, but apparently they had written back and forth to each other, even after she wanted a divorce. So, yeah. I mean, Karen didn't lie. She just didn't plan for things to go in this direction. Of course, she's going to still talk to her husband because he's her husband, you know? Uh-oh. And there's the first very mean thing that Petra does is actually call her a little whore, which she doesn't take very well for obvious reasons. That is a pretty nasty thing to say. And you know, it's almost that Petra is very repulsed at the idea that she's going to be going back to a man. Very repulsed at that idea. So, of course, she decides to denigrate her by just saying that she's a little whore, which is pretty horrible. How mean you are. No, how about how mean are you? No. Petra von Kant has always been about the lies and the deception and the she thinks, oh, I'm going to make you a top model. Well, guess what? That means I own you forever. And see, and that's the thing. I mean, regardless of gender, this is a common theme in a lot of movies and stories and real life, obviously, where it just seems like the most beautiful, the most perfectly women with perfect bodies, they're all determined to be owned by someone or something, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, whether it's a group. You know, here again, going back to, the exploitation of it all. It just seems like the most beautiful women in the world, of course, somebody or something wants to own them and not let them have any kind of freedom whatsoever to, go out and enjoy life and actually converse with society and everything. Petra doesn't understand that she has sunk herself so deep into a hole that she just has no clue that that she is exploiting these women for her own selfish and sadistic purposes. And that includes Karen as well as Marlene. That includes both of them. And here we actually see Petra get down on her knees. She gets down on her knees and she absolutely begs Karen not to leave. And Karen, of course, is like looking off in the other direction and everything. She is not going to fall for this. She is not going to fall for this, particularly after 6 months of this. She is most certainly not going to fall for it. Marlene probably knew that this was going to happen the whole time because this has obviously happened before. Marlene saw the writing on the wall very, very early on that this was going to not end well. And you know, and thus the downfall has begun. You rotten little rat. And she actually spits in her face. And Marlene notices. You'll pay for that. You'll pay for that. You won't forget that ever. Damn. Nope, it's over. Let her go, Petra. Let her go. And if I was Petra, I would, of course, check into rehab at this point because she obviously needs psychological help. She needs an intervention as soon as possible because, you know, she doesn't realize that her obsession has brought about, of course, hate in the form of insults and physical assault even. I mean, the spitting, yeah, that's physical assault right there. I mean, that's pretty harsh. It's almost like she's ensuring that Karen is never going to ever call her again, let alone see her again. And now, of course, she's asking for some money. Petra dutifully goes to her drawers so she can get some. And there's Marlene still working on a dress on one of the mannequins, of course, knowing exactly what's going on as we keep going. And here again, 90 minutes in, or approximately 1 hour and 33 minutes and 30 seconds in, she has still not said a single word. Marlene has still not said a single word all throughout the entire movie. And so Petra gives her the keys and the money, saying that she's too drunk to drive Karen out to the airport. And that's going to be it. Yeah, I like how Fassbinder raises the camera like he does and sees her going out and everything. Yep, this is it, Petra. Yes, she's leaving you. Deal with it. It's over. Now, I got to say that even though this seems like it's going to be end up disaster and that this is going to end in either disaster or just plain depression, actually, you may be surprised. I was actually shocked at how much I love the ending to this movie. And we are going to get there very, very soon. But here we see Karen leaving once and for all after saying goodbye by lightly touching Petra's hair. And now fade out, and we start Act 4. 1 hour and 35 minutes in, 1 hour and 35 minutes into Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. We have approximately 30 minutes left to go. And as you can see, I mean, we just came in on the final act here where Petra is all by herself in her room. It seems like the bed was taken out and everything, and she Just has a bottle of gin. She's wearing a very beautiful green dress, and now she's going blonde here. Again, change of color, change of change of time, change of hair. Everything has changed now, and now she's basically drowning herself in gin, desperately hoping that Karen is going to make a phone call. It's just her and the painting behind her, a gin bottle, and a phone. That's it. She's talking to herself. She's obviously dropping little subtle hints at suicide and everything. And then of course, she keeps on putting Karen down, even though she claims she's still in love with her and obsessed with her, and is just waiting for that phone call. No, she's not going to come crawling back to you, and she's not a little whore, okay? See, the weird thing is that, it's like, why is this woman so mean and nasty and vicious in her words and in her actions? It's unbelievable. Like, what did the fashion industry do to this woman? Don't be so cruel, Karen. No, maybe you should not be so cruel. Maybe you should get out of that bottle of gin and have a cup of coffee and start reflecting. But yeah, she obviously needs an intervention of some kind. I'm almost surprised that Marlene doesn't call anybody. I don't know if she's worried about retaliation. I don't know what exactly she's concerned about, that she just can't get Petra some fucking help that she obviously needs right here. But like I said, the way this movie concludes and the way we say goodbye to Marlene's character, I think, is extraordinary. Just wait for it. Just wait for it. Still calling Karen a slut and a whore. Yeah, like I said, this is not going to work, Petra. This really is not going to help you. Fassbinder holds this for a long time. There's a lot of takes in this movie where he just basically, holds the camera and holds everything in frame for a good while. And I think that in some moments, like after she and Karen drink cognac in that very first moment, there's something priceless about those moments. There really is. Spilling gin all over the carpet. Yep. Damn. Oh, today is Petra von Kant's birthday. Oh, so yeah, I believe that she turns 36. She's either 35 or 36, because I know that her mother says at one point that, I gave birth to you about 35 years ago. So she just turned 35. Now, look at how Marlene puts her arm on the wall there. Look how she leaned her arm against the wall, and she's just basically waiting. She's waiting for Petra to just collapse. She really is. Now, this, of course, is Petra von Kant's daughter, who has been away at boarding school for all this time. Barely has any relationship with her. Now, the actress playing Valerie von Kant right here, or excuse me, Gabrielle. Yeah, Gabby von Kant is an actress by the name of Eva Mattes. She appeared in 4 films with Rainer Werner Fassbender, including Petra von Kant, Jailbait, Effie Briest, and In a Year of 13 Moons. And she also played a bearded film director based on the recently deceased Fassbender in the 1984 film A Man Like Eva, EVA. She also appeared in 2 films of Werner Herzog, with whom she was in a relationship at one point. Mattes also appeared in Germany, Pale Mother, and in Enemy at the Gates as the mother of Sasha Filipov. I remember An Enemy at the Gates very much. If you've never seen that, it's a war film. It came out in 2001, directed by Jean-Jacques Annaud, and it showcases the Battle of Stalingrad. And it's basically about two snipers who are basically out to knock each other off during the Battle of Stalingrad, with Jude Law playing one of the snipers and also Ed Harris. But the movie also has Joseph Fiennes, Rachel Weisz, and Bob Hoskins. And I was such a huge Rachel Weisz fan that I'll never forget Enemy at the Gates for that scene where she and Jude Law actually make love in the dirt. Hey, you're in the middle of a war. Where else are you going to have sex but in the dirt, away from the battle and everything? But yeah, so this actress, Eva Mattes, was in Enemy at the Gates, but I don't remember who she was exactly in that, but it says that she was the mother of Sasha Filipov. She lives in Berlin with Austrian artist Wolfgang Georgesdorf and two children. So yeah, she's still with us as well. She's 67 years old. She won the 1981 Bavarian Film Awards for Best Actress, and she also won the jury's special Grand Prix at the 1979 Cannes Film Festival for Werner Herzog's Wojciech. And her last film role was in 2014 in a movie called Fever. Mm-hmm. But her last big film was actually Enemy at the Gates. I really want to rewatch Enemy at the Gates now. Oh, now notice how, Marlene brings the tea out. She stays there. Like she stays there. She wants Petra to actually, for once, let her stay with her and help her. Because clearly the daughter is petrified at this point. She's clearly petrified of her mother in terms of her, her alcoholism and her obsession and everything. Yeah, exactly. Why do you treat her so badly? Apparently she's been treating her badly for a long, long time. Yeah, she's not going to argue with her on her birthday. No, absolutely not. Children have a right to develop their ideas. Isn't that what they say today? Now, here we have the arrival of the last primary character. We just heard the bell. We're coming up on an hour and 44 minutes here, and we're about to meet the last primary character, who will be Valerie von Kant, Petra's mother, played by Gisela Fackelday. Oh, actually, no. No. This is, of course, Sidoni from before. I forgot that she comes before the mother. Excuse me, but she brought her a big gift, a big wrapped gift, as you can see right here. But look at, obviously you notice that Petra basically just crunched that entire glass in her hand, so now she's bleeding. And what did she get as a birthday present? Oh, a baby. A baby with blonde hair that will remind her of Karen for the rest of her days. Yeah, really smart choice. Really smart choice, I must say. Yep. I like to be hugged. I read about your success in Milan. Congratulations. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a pain in the butt. Oh, yeah. I hate that. I hate when she tells her daughter to stop laughing. Like, geez, stop being a bitch. Mm-hmm. And there's Marlene again, always listening, always, behind a window and listening. If you remember close to the beginning when she was talking to her, she had her hand on the window, actually, putting her ear in just to listen to every single word clearly. Yeah, you can literally see the devastation on the daughter's face. You could really truly see it there, knowing that her mother is collapsing and will probably not get up unless she gets help. Talented? That's not talent. She just knows how to sell herself. uh, yeah, funny that you love her and yet you keep on insulting her. She was triggered by the big black man with the big black cock. She was triggered. You're really well informed, my dear. Oh, Karen phoned her. Okay. Naturally, I told her it was your birthday. She said she'd try to drop in. Oh, really? She's terribly busy. Yep, exactly. Too busy to see Petra again. And understandable. And you'll notice the mannequins as they are set up over there now with two female mannequins in bed on top of each other and one mannequin towering over there just watching. Oh, and look at the daughter. Oh, Jesus. It's so easy to go downhill. Slow pan over, and here we have the mother. And I really like the violet that she's wearing here. It really contrasts with the green that her daughter is wearing and the yellow that her granddaughter is wearing. So yeah, look at the colors of all these dresses. Look at how they're all very, very different. Really interesting. And of course, the mother also has feathers in her hat. But so anyway, this is our final actress of the 6 women that appear in this film. Gisela Fackelday was born in November of 1920, passed away in West Berlin in October of 1986 at the age of 65. She appeared in more than 45 films and television shows between 1949 and 1986. She was in 1950's Who Is This That I Love? Kissing Is No Sin, The Cloister of Martins, Dark Clouds Over the Dockstein, The Charming Young Lady, Love's Awakening, Stephanie, Lieselotte of the Palatinate, and The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. And in 1974, she was also with Margit Carstensen in Martha, directed by Fassbinder as well, which was also shot by Michael Ballhaus as well. And let's see. Oh, I mean, some of the music is also provided by Giuseppe Well, obviously, you played the second song that you played on her phonograph record. Because the first song was, of course, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" by the Platters. And then we also have Giuseppe Verdi, an Italian composer best known for his operas, which Petra von Kant was saying that she grew up on specifically. But we are going to be getting another Platters song here very, very soon when we get to the ending, and I think it's a perfect song, the perfect song to close this movie on. We are at the 1 hour and 51-minute mark, 1 hour and 51 minutes into the Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, and we have approximately 13 minutes left to go. 13 minutes left to go. Now, before we actually get to the ending and talk about the ending, I wanted to mention real quick of the commentaries that are coming soon on this channel. Let's see. Tomorrow night, I'm going to do The Seduction of Mimi, directed by Lena Wertmuller. Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, I have scheduled for Tuesday, 27th at 1 a.m. Bruce Lee's The Way of the Dragon on September 29th at 1 a.m. And finally, Tragedy of a Ridiculous Man, which is an Italian film directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. I will be doing that at 1 a.m. on Friday, September 30th. This is going to be the last international film that I do for the month. And granted, this is not a 50th anniversary commentary, but it is a Lad Company commentary. And so this is the film that we're going to be watching next week. Now, I will let everybody know right now that this is not available for streaming anywhere. This is, in fact, a bootleg copy I had to pick up. So if you're going to find it, you're going to have to try to find it through alternate means. I got this copy off of eBay. I got it within 3 or 4 days. So if you want to try to get a copy before the commentary, this now's the time to do it. So Tragedy of a Ridiculous Man, which was released in 1981 in Italy, in 1982 in the United States by the Lad Company, and that will be on Friday morning at 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, on Saturday, we are going to be starting our horror films of 1972, the horror film commentaries of 1972. And I'm not going to do all of these, but I want to list them real quick just to give everybody a preview and a general idea of what I'm doing. On Saturday night, October 1st, I will be doing The Legend of Boggy Creek and The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Both of those movies were directed by Charles B. Pierce. And I also have planned throughout the month Dr. Phibes Rises Again with Vincent Price, Vampire Circus, directed by Robert Young, a television movie called Something Evil, directed by a very young Steven Spielberg, Freddie Francis's Tales from the Crypt, the 1972 movie, Lucio Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling, Eugenio Martin's Horror Express, Sidney J. Fury's Lady Sings the Blues about Billie Holiday. I will be doing a commentary on Lady Sings the Blues. And not only am I going to be doing a commentary on it, I'm also going to be getting the Blu-ray and reading the book actually written by Billie Holiday in the 1950s. I will also be doing Dracula AD 1972. Blackula and Scream, Blackula Scream will be a Saturday night double feature. Blackula was the very first horror film to win at the very first Saturn Awards. Paul Bartel's Private Parts, Hollywood Morse's Daughters of Satan, William F. Claxton's Night of Lepus, Brian De Palma's Sisters, and yes, I will be getting the Criterion for Sisters. On Sunday night, October 30th, I'll be doing a double feature including Gary Sherman's Deathline and Roddy McDowall's Tam Lin, the only movie that Roddy McDowall ever directed, starring Ava Gardner. And finally, on Halloween night, on Monday, October 31st, Halloween night, I will be doing a double commentary on Waris Hussein's The Possession of Joel Delaney, starring Shirley MacLaine, as well as Benjamin Christensen's 1922 classic Haxan, Witchcraft Through the Ages. So that will be on Halloween night. And here we are. Petra von Kant has just said that she just wants to die, and she starts falling asleep here. Everybody is still there, very, very worried about her. Fassbender stays on this for a long, long time, a really long time. And then finally we fade out. Excuse me, been talking for 2 hours and wasn't able to get a drink before. But at any rate, 1 hour, 56 minutes. We got 8 minutes left to go. This is the epilogue. Here we finally reached the epilogue of Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, where she's in bed. No wig this time. She's got her natural auburn hair right there. And she's talking to her mother. And Marlene is in the background there just listening in. And see, that's the thing. I don't think the mother is disgusted at her, loving another woman or even wanting another woman. I don't think there is disgust here. I just think that she, is still kind of processing it and everything. But I don't detect any homophobia. Now, here's the thing. Now, I will sum up Rainer Werner Fassbender as well. We see Marlene in the back there. The actress, of course, reported in real life that Fassbinder had physically abused her. From what I read and everything that I gathered, that she is the only one making those statements. And I do believe that, that was probably the case. I would still watch this movie again. I would still very much watch this movie again. I mean, and granted, like how Petra treats her, it might bring up the idea again of, here again, I mean, sort of like a little crack in the doorway you could see into what the relationship between Fassbinder and the actress playing Marlene was really like. But I still think this is a really good film, and I would watch it again. Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant definitely gets a recommendation from me. Whether or not I want to own this on Criterion is another question altogether. And as I've already read what their, the 5-star assessment that they had over at Blu-ray.com. But for anybody who is interested in picking up the Criterion Blu-ray, let me just skim through the extras again here real quick. So it was really released by Criterion in 2015. And as far as bonus features, we have, let's see. And it was recently restored in 4K. That needs to be. The transfer supervisor was indeed Michael Ballhaus before he passed away. This was only 2 years before he passed away. Supervised by director of photography Michael Ballhaus and produced by the Rainer Werner Fassbinder Foundation, this new digital transfer was created in 4K resolution on an Ariscan film scanner from the original camera negative at Ari Film and TV in Munich, where the film was also restored. Now, the copy that you're seeing on YouTube, this is pretty much the same 4K restoration. And I do not disagree with him one iota that the film looks gorgeous in high definition. Detail and clarity are enormously impressive. Indeed, they are. Extras. There is a new documentary film, 31 minutes, called Outsiders, where actors Hanna Schygulla, Margit Carstensen, Eva Mattis, and Katrin Schaake discuss their contributions to the Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, the film's visual style, and specifically its theatrical qualities, and Michael Ballhaus's lensing. The relationships between the main characters and the film's message, Fassbinder's directing methods, and the group of actors he felt most comfortable working with, the German director's relationship with Gunther Kaufmann. The documentary film was produced by Criterion in 2014 in German and English with optional English subtitles where necessary. There is a very quick 8-minute video interview with Michael Bauhaus. There is a 24-minute video interview with Jane Shattuck. She is a professor of visual and media arts at Emerson College, author of Television, Tabloids, and Tears, Fassbinder, and Popular Culture. And she discusses Fassbinder's fascinating relationship with the actors from the anti-theater troupe, his treatment of women in front and behind the camera, the Brechtian qualities of his film, his admiration for Douglas Sirk's melodramas, the victims and victimizers and bitter tears of Petra von Kant. Interview was conducted exclusively for Criterion in 2014. And finally, there is an hour-long archival documentary from the 70s, Role Play, Women on R.W. Fassbinder, and a leaflet with illustrations featuring an essay by film critic Peter Matthews. So I'm still a little torn as to whether I want to pick it up, but despite Fassbinder's controversial reputation, I would not only want to see some of his other films, but I would watch Petra von Kant again. Now, as you notice, I love this ending. I absolutely adore this ending where Petra finally goes to Marlene and says, look, I owe you a trillion apologies. Will you please join with me and be my partner, essentially? Marlene tries to kiss her hand, and she is rather rejected. And basically, she decides that is the very last straw. And so Petra is going to go to her phonograph and play the Platters' The Great Pretender. So we are going to end The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant listening to the entirety of the Platters' Great Pretender while Marlene is packing what little she has in the apartment. And the final thing that she packs, I think, is going to be very, very eyebrow raising because I didn't see this coming. I really did not see this coming at all. See, she's only like throwing like a few socks in, a couple of, she wore that black dress the whole movie. She wore it the whole damn movie. Like I said, not a single word. She has still not said one single word all throughout the entire movie. To be perfectly honest, I kind of wish I had picked up the Criterion Blu-ray just to be more prepared and just to have a more rounded discussion on this. But like I said, I honestly did not know if I was going to like this or not. So that's why I decided to temper my expectations. And like Ingmar Bergman's Cries and Whispers, I decided to check it out this way. But now I wish I had gotten the Criterion before this commentary. But, it came out in 2015 and it got a 5-star rave assessment on Blu-ray.com. So, if you ask me, I think that's enough of a recommendation to pick it up. Maybe for Christmas. When the next fire sale, the next Criterion fire sale is going on, I would probably pick up Petra von Kant at that point. And you notice that the last thing that she put in the suitcase was a gun, which was probably difficult for the light to get on that. But Michael Bauhaus, he nails it. He does get that gun in focus. And she ends up taking the baby, which was a birthday gift, the doll, basically, which was a birthday gift. And we end with Petra just smiling, turning out her light, and going to sleep. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Rainer Werner Fassbinder's The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Rob, Gasper, and Katrina, huge shout outs to you. Thank you so much for coming. I will see you all at 11 p.m. tonight, Sunday night, Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Eastern, as we do the audio commentary for Lino Wertmüller's The Seduction of Mimi. which you'll be able to rent at Amazon Prime and a few other places. Thank you so much for joining me, and you all have a great evening. Thank you so much.